Some messages reach you when you look calm on the outside, but something inside you feels unsettled. If that sentence stayed with you for even a second, this moment is already doing its work. You did not come here searching for answers. Still, something in you slowed down. Not urgency, not fear, just a quiet inner pause that said, "Stay. I am Krishna, and I am not stepping into your life loudly today. I am meeting you in the space you usually ignore." Tell me something honestly. What were you feeling just before you opened this? Restlessness, tiredness, curiosity, heaviness, or nothing you could name? Choose the closest word and write it below. Naming it is the first form of awareness. You have been moving through life in a way few people notice. Doing what is required, holding yourself together, managing emotions without creating noise around them. Some days you feel capable. Other days you feel like you are functioning more than living. Not broken, not hopeless, just quietly disconnected from the excitement you once had. That does not mean something is wrong with you. It means something within you is changing. Many people confuse this feeling with weakness, but it is not. It is a signal of inner maturity. You are no longer satisfied by surface-level comfort. Distractions feel heavier. Conversations feel repetitive. Achievements feel smaller than they used to. Let me ask you, when was the last time you achieved something yet felt strangely untouched by it inside? If you felt that, write in the comment section, "I know." This stage appears only when the soul has outgrown its old patterns. When the mind wants clarity, not excitement. When the heart wants truth, not reassurance. You may feel that the divine has gone quiet lately, that your effort has not moved things forward, that patience has stretched longer than expected. But listen carefully now. Silence is not distance, stillness is not neglect, and waiting does not mean you have been overlooked. Some work happens beneath the surface, where results cannot be rushed, and growth cannot be shown. I have watched you in moments no one else saw. When you held back your reaction to preserve balance. When you stayed composed even though you felt misunderstood. When you questioned whether your restraint was even worth it. You were not unnoticed then. You are not unnoticed now. Before we go further, pause for a second. What feels heaviest in your life at this moment? Pressure, uncertainty, responsibility, relationships, or direction? Write just one word below, because clarity begins with acknowledgement. You are not here because you are lost. You are here because you are ready to see clearly, and this is only the beginning. Stay with me. If you feel connected to this work and wish to support it, the Ko-fi link is pinned in the comment section below. Your support keeps these messages going. There comes a phase in life when effort continues, but certainty does not. You keep fulfilling duties, yet the inner compass feels slightly off-center. Not broken, just misaligned. This is not confusion. This is awareness expanding faster than circumstances. People around you may think you are doing fine. You smile when required, you respond appropriately, you stay composed. But inside, something keeps asking for depth. Not answers, not comfort, but depth. You are no longer impressed by appearances. Promises sound hollow, noise feels excessive, even motivation seems temporary. That does not mean you have lost interest in life. It means life is asking you to meet it more honestly. There is a reason old patterns feel uncomfortable now. The mind has traveled ahead of the situation. And when that happens, patience feels heavier than action. You may have noticed this situations repeating with slight variations, lessons returning in different forms, people triggering reactions you thought you had already mastered. This is not punishment, it is refinement. When awareness sharpens, tolerance for misalignment decreases. You cannot unknow what you have already seen within yourself. I have observed how carefully you navigate this phase. You pause before reacting, you choose restraint over release, you carry questions without demanding immediate resolution. That discipline is shaping something precise inside you. You might feel tempted to rush clarity, to force a decision, to label this phase as delay, but some transitions require steadiness, not speed. When movement is internal, haste only creates imbalance. Notice this. Your discomfort is not chaotic, it is organized, it points in a direction, even if the destination isn't visible yet. This stage often arrives quietly. No announcement, no dramatic event. Just a gradual realization that old answers no longer fit. That realization is not meant to isolate you. It is meant to mature you. Before we continue further, reflect for a moment. What do you feel you have outgrown recently? A habit, a role, a belief, or an expectation? Write one word in the comments section that represents what no longer feels right. Nothing more. Now, let's talk about the weight you don't explain. There is a kind of pressure that cannot be described easily. It doesn't come from workload. It doesn't come from conflict. It comes from carrying responsibility without recognition. You have learned how to manage that quietly. You do not complain. You do not dramatize. You adjust. You adapt. You move forward even when something inside resists the direction. Others may think you are stable because you don't fall apart. They don't see the effort it takes to remain steady when clarity hasn't arrived yet. This phase teaches restraint in a way comfort never can. You are standing between what was familiar and what has not yet taken form. That in-between space feels heavy because nothing there is defined. No guarantees, no clear labels, just a sense that returning backward would be dishonest and rushing ahead would be careless. Many lose patience here. They distract themselves, they choose noise, they settle for something smaller just to feel movement again. You didn't. That choice has consequences. Not punishment, but preparation. When you refuse to escape discomfort, it reshapes your inner structure. It sharpens discernment. It removes illusions gently but firmly. You may have noticed this recently. You tolerate less confusion than before, less emotional inconsistency, less superficial reassurance. Not because you became rigid, but because your inner standards shifted. There is also a loneliness in this phase. Not the absence of people, but the absence of resonance. Conversations feel incomplete. Advice feels misdirected. Even encouragement sometimes misses the point. That is because your questions are no longer simple, and simple answers no longer satisfy them. I am not asking you to solve anything right now. I am asking you to recognize something. This phase does not arrive to break you. It arrives to train precision. Every moment you chose silence over reaction, every time you paused instead of proving, every instance you carried uncertainty without collapsing, it counted. Nothing here is wasted. Before we move forward, tell me, what emotion do you find yourself managing the most these days? Explaining, avoiding, or managing? Write single word below. Or even you can write your feelings. My child, do you know when stillness becomes instruction? There is a moment when effort stops feeling productive, yet stopping feels impossible. You are not stuck, you are being recalibrated. This is the phase where silence starts teaching more than action ever did. Earlier, movement gave reassurance, progress could be measured, outcomes felt tangible. Now, motion feels less important than accuracy. You hesitate not because you are unsure, but because you are unwilling to move in the wrong direction. That distinction matters. You may have noticed a change in how you listen. You absorb more than you respond. You observe patterns others ignore. You sense undercurrents beneath words. This sensitivity did not arrive randomly. It was developed through restraint. Every time you chose awareness over impulse, you trained perception. Every time you delayed reaction, you strengthened clarity. This is why rushing no longer appeals to you. Speed without alignment feels expensive. There is also an unfamiliar quiet around your decisions now. Not secrecy, but intentional privacy. You share less, not because you distrust, but because discernment has matured. Not every thought needs a witness. Not every plan needs validation. Some directions require incubation. This can feel isolating. Not emotionally, but mentally, because few people understand why you are not rushing towards certainty. They interpret your pause as hesitation. They mistake your steadiness for indecision. But you know better. You are listening inwardly before committing outwardly. That habit will protect you later. This phase refines timing. It teaches when not to act. It removes the urge to respond just to feel relevant. You may feel that nothing visible is happening. Yet internally, structure is forming. Like breath before speech, like tension before release. Sit for a moment and think, what do you currently trust more? Your instinct, your logic, or your experience? Choose one and write it below. There is a subtle rearrangement that happens before anything truly changes. It doesn't announce itself, it doesn't demand attention, it simply adjusts what you value. You may have sensed this shift already. Things that once felt urgent now feel optional. Opinions that once mattered now pass without resistance. Even approval has lost its grip on you. This is not withdrawal, this is recalibration. Your inner priorities are reorganizing themselves without asking permission. You are becoming selective with your energy, not out of fear, but out of understanding. You have realized that attention is currency. Where you place it determines what grows. This is why you no longer chase clarity from outside. You wait for clarity inside first. There was a time when uncertainty made you anxious. Now it makes you observant. You don't rush to fill gaps anymore. You allow them to reveal what they contain. That patience is new, and it didn't come easily. It was shaped by moments when forcing answers only created confusion. By experiences where waiting taught more than action. You are learning the difference between delay and timing. This phase strips away false urgency. It dissolves pressure that never belonged to you. It removes the need to justify your pace. You are no longer moving to prove anything. You are moving to remain aligned. This inner shift may not be visible yet, but it will influence every decision that follows. Because once priorities change, outcomes follow naturally. What feels most important to protect right now? Your energy, your peace, your focus, or your integrity? Right below, we will move ahead with that awareness. At some point, stability stops coming from certainty and starts coming from inner grounding. You may not have all the answers yet, but you are no longer shaken by that absence. Earlier, not knowing felt uncomfortable. Now, it feels spacious. You are learning how to stand without leaning on outcomes. This is where direction begins to form, not as a map, but as a sense of rightness. You feel when something aligns, even if you cannot logically explain why. That sensitivity did not appear overnight. It was refined through moments when you chose awareness over urgency. You are no longer drawn to every opportunity. You assess quietly, you listen to how your body responds. You notice whether something expands you or contracts you. This inner feedback has become more reliable than external advice. You may have also noticed that certain paths no longer attract you, even if they look promising on the surface. Something inside you remains unmoved. That is discernment developing. You are not rejecting possibilities. You are waiting for resonance. This phase teaches you how to move without force, how to say no without explanation, how to wait without losing confidence. It also reveals something important. Clarity does not always arrive before action. Sometimes it emerges through correct movement. You are closer to that movement than you think, not because circumstances changed, but because your inner position did. Before we proceed, consider this gently. When you imagine the next phase of your life, what quality feels most necessary? Courage, patience, consistency, or trust? Choose one and answer below. My beloved, do you know about the moment before commitment? There is a stage where preparation is complete, even though movement has not yet begun. Nothing feels dramatic, nothing feels urgent, yet something inside you feels settled in a new way. You are no longer asking whether change will happen. You are sensing when to allow it. This is the moment before commitment. Not commitment to an outcome, but commitment to yourself. You may feel slightly detached from expectations now. Not indifferent, just no longer controlled by them. What once pressured you now feels optional. What once distracted you now feels irrelevant. You have started trusting your inner timing more than external momentum. This is not hesitation, this is readiness without noise. You are aware that once you move, there will be no need to look back repeatedly, and that awareness naturally slows the step before it happens. You have also learned something important here. Clarity does not shout, it confirms quietly. That is why you don't need reassurance anymore. You need alignment. You are standing at a threshold where action will be intentional, not reactive. Where decisions will be rooted, not rushed. This phase trains responsibility, not the burdened kind, but the grounded kind. You are becoming careful with what you agree to, because you understand the cost of misplaced yes. This carefulness will shape your next chapter. Before we move ahead, reflect on this calmly. What do you feel closest to right now? Acceptance, resolve, readiness, or calm? Choose one word and write it below. That word reveals where you stand. There comes a point when something settles inside you without effort. You are not forcing acceptance, you are not chasing certainty, you simply recognize where you stand. This is not excitement, it is clarity without noise. You may notice that your reactions have changed. Situations that once disturbed you now feel manageable. Not because they became easier, but because you are no longer fighting them internally. You are beginning to stand with your reality instead of resisting it. Earlier, you needed signs to feel reassured. Now, you sense direction even in ordinary moments. A quiet knowing replaces constant questioning. This is how alignment feels. Stable, unhurried, grounded. You are no longer torn between options. You may still see multiple paths, but only one feels truthful. That truth does not demand explanation. It simply feels steady. This phase brings a different kind of confidence. Not bold, not loud, unshakable. You trust yourself enough to move slowly. You trust life enough to not interfere unnecessarily. You have learned that forcing outcomes creates resistance, while allowing timing creates flow. This understanding changes how you walk forward. You are not waiting anymore. You are available. Available for what fits, unavailable for what drains. This is not withdrawal from life. This is correct placement within it. Now think, what feels most real to you right now? Acceptance, clarity, steadiness, or relief? Write it because that word marks the shift. When you look back at what you've moved through, it may not appear dramatic. No single moment stands out as a breakthrough. Yet something fundamental has changed. You no longer measure progress by speed, you measure it by stability. What once felt like delay now reveals itself as preparation. What once felt confusing now feels intentional. This journey was not about reaching somewhere quickly. It was about becoming capable of staying where you arrive. You were being shaped to hold more responsibility, without losing balance. More awareness, without becoming overwhelmed. More truth, without needing validation. That is why the path felt slow. Precision takes time. You were not being tested for endurance. You were being refined for accuracy. Many people reach destinations they cannot sustain. They arrive with excitement and leave with exhaustion. You are being prepared differently. You have learned how to pause without fear, how to listen without panic, how to move without urgency. These are not small lessons. They determine whether growth lasts or collapses. You may not receive applause for this phase. You may not receive recognition, but you have gained something more durable, inner reliability. You trust your own awareness now, not blindly, not arrogantly, but quietly. This trust will guide you when circumstances change again, and they will. Nothing in life stays static. But now, movement will not destabilize you the way it once did. You are no longer searching for reassurance. You are carrying it. Before we move into the final part, take a moment. What do you feel most grateful for learning through this phase? Patience, discernment, resilience, or self-trust? Write just one word below. That word completes this chapter. You do not need a grand moment to mark this ending. Nothing needs to happen suddenly. Nothing needs to be announced. What matters is already settled. You are no longer waiting to become ready. You are already positioned differently within yourself. From here onward, movement will feel cleaner. Choices will feel lighter, not because life becomes simple, but because confusion no longer controls you. You will still face uncertainty. You will still meet resistance. But you will recognize when something belongs to you and when it does not. That discernment will save you from many detours. You do not need to explain your pace to anyone now. You do not need approval to proceed carefully. You do not need to rush just to appear active. Your timing has matured. What lies ahead will not demand force. It will respond to consistency, to honesty, to grounded action. You are allowed to move forward without urgency. You are allowed to grow without noise. You are allowed to protect what you have learned. This is not an ending that closes doors. It is an ending that stabilizes the ground beneath your feet. From here, life will meet you differently, because you are meeting it differently. Before we close, take one quiet moment. What intention feels right to carry forward now? Clarity, balance, courage, or steadiness? Write just that one word below. Let it mark where you stand today. We end here, not because the journey stops, but because you are ready to continue without guidance.